In this video, we are going to look at how to solve a linear equation. So first of all, let's go into what a linear equation actually is. So with a linear equation, it looks something like so. We have x, we're adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing a number, and it's equal to something else here. Okay, so this is a very simple example of a linear equation. A critical thing to note is that in a linear equation, the x term has the highest power. What do I mean by that? We don't have anything like x squared or x to the 3 or x to the half. Rather, we have x where 1 is actually our highest power, okay? So this is what we mean by a linear equation. We've just got an x there that's, it's like x to the 1 where 1 is the highest power. So how do we solve a linear equation? There's a couple of key things we need to keep into consideration. First of all, first thing that we want to be doing is isolating that pronumeral. In this case, we want to be isolating x. We want to get that by itself. And how we're going to do that is we're going to move some of the other terms, okay? So let's have a look at this example. We have x plus 5 is equal to 2. Here, what we can see is that we've got this 5 over here on the same side as x. So how we can get rid of the 5 is, okay, let's actually subtract that 5 from the left-hand side of the equation. Now, if we're going to do that, what's important is that we also subtract the same quantity from the right-hand side of the equation. And the reason for that is because an equation is like a balance beam, okay? So if we have x plus 5 on one side and then 2 on the other side, at the moment it's in balance, okay? If we remove one thing from one side, okay, we need to do it from the other so it maintains that balance, okay? So here, let's go back to this equation here. We have x plus 5 is equal to 2. We're going to subtract 5 from both sides. When we do that, we'll see that plus 5 minus 5 will give us 0, so we won't have any 5s left over on our left-hand side. We're just going to have x, and then x is going to be equal to 2 minus 5, so therefore x is going to be equal to minus 3. Okay, let's do a couple of other examples. Let's say this time we have x minus 7 is equal to 3. In this case, what we're going to do is add 7 to both sides. And the reason for that is we're subtracting 7, so we want to add 7 to both sides to turn this part into 0. And like with our previous example, whatever we do on one side, we need to do to the other side to keep our equation balanced. So when we do that, we add 7 to both sides. We'll have x is equal to 3 plus 7, which is going to give us 10. Okay, let's look at another two examples. This time, let's just say that we have something like 3x is equal to 21. This time, what we can see is that x is being multiplied by 3. So 3x is the same as going 3 times x. And the way that we get rid of the 3 in this case is by applying the inverse operation. So like before, where we added when we were subtracting and then subtracted when we were adding, here we're going to divide both sides by 3. And the reason for that is because these 3's will cancel out and we're just going to be left over with x. So when we'll do that, we get x is equal to 21 divided by 3. So x is going to be equal to 7. Okay. Let's look at an example this time where we have division. Let's say we have x on top, that's being divided by 2, and then our right-hand side is equal to minus 4. In this case, what we're going to do is multiply both sides by 2, because the 2's will cancel out on the bottom, and we'll just have x left over. So then here, we'll have x is equal to minus 4 times 2 is going to give us minus 8. Okay, excellent. So those are the fundamentals of solving linear equations in terms of we make sure that we're adding or subtracting or multiplying or dividing to both sides of the equation in order to keep the equation balanced. Now, let's look at two more examples. This time, rather than just having one operation we need to do, we might need to do a couple, okay? So let's say we have something like 2x minus 7 is equal to 11, and we need to solve for x. So here, this is what I call a two-step equation. We've got two things we need to get rid of because we have a minus 7 and a 2 that we need to get rid of. So let's deal with the 7 first. Let's add 7 to both sides of the equation, okay? When we do that, we'll get 2x is equal to 18. Now let's continue by dividing both sides by 2. So then we'll have x is equal to 18 divided by 2, which is equal to 9. Okay, good. Let's have a look at another example. Let's say this time we might have something like 4x on 3 is equal to 22. In this case, once again, 2 steps involved. We need to get rid of the 3 and then the 4. Let's get rid of the 3 by multiplying both sides by 3. When we do that, we'll get 4x is equal to 22 times 3 gives us 66. And then we'll wrap up by dividing both sides of our equation by 4. And when we'll do that, we get x is equal to 66 on 4. And then we can actually proceed to continue simplifying that fraction. And for here, we can do that by dividing top and bottom by 2. When we do that, we'll have x is equal to, it's going to be 33 on 2 as our final answer. Okay, so there you have it. That is how you solve a linear equation.